Hey, it's Harley. Welcome back. It's great to see you again. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about how I auditioned for Stone Temple Pilots, how I got the audition, how it went down, and the lesson to be learned about trying too hard. So 5 years ago, I moved to Los Angeles from New York, and I was doing hair because that's what I did. I went to hair school and I did hair on the side to make money while I was pursuing my creative endeavors. And it's a good gig. You know, you could always do hair. You could always make money anywhere. At this time, I just moved to LA. I'm doing hair. I'm writing songs. I was going to release an EP. It was going pretty well. I had this new batch of songs I was doing. You know, someone told me that Chester Bennington just quit STP and that they were looking for singers and they were auditioning. You know, they were taking a lot of people into consideration, from celebrities to like unknowns and like all this stuff. So, you know, I'd had some friends in the industry from when, you know, we were around with Closer and White Light Motorcade. So I called on some friends. It turns out one of them knew the drummer. So I did a demo and I did some of their tunes that I loved, sent them in, and that was that. I didn't hear anything for a few weeks. Then I'm driving home from work one day and driving through the canyon, my phone rings, an LA number. So I'm like, hello. Like, yo, what's up, man? It's STP's manager. Cool, you know, nice to meet you. And he's like, the band really loved the demos you sent in. They'd love to jam with you, like in a couple of weeks. Are you available on this date? And I was like, yeah, I'm available whenever, you know, however, you just call me and tell me and I'll be there. Emails me the information. It's about 3 weeks out or something like that. So I'm like, I love STP. I grew up watching them. Some of the first songs that I wrote were Stone Temple Pilots, you know, were like very similar in that vein. It's just like a big influence on me, and I remember the videos. And anyway, like now to think that I was going to be jamming with them, I didn't want to squander the opportunity. So I hired a vocal coach, a very expensive, renowned vocal coach that doesn't have many appointments available. So I book it. It's like a week out or whatever. And then the day comes where I'm going to like, you know, this appointment for the vocal coach, and I'm running late, and like I jump out of the car and I'm just like, oh man, she's probably going to be pissed. And so I ring the doorbell. As I ring the doorbell, my phone rings. And it's a no caller ID. And I thought maybe it was her calling or whatever. So I'm like, hello? And I hear a guy go, is this Harley DiNardo? And I'm like, I thought it was a telemarketer. And she was standing there. She opens the door at this point, and I'm like, looking at her, look at the phone. I'm like, I can't talk right now. And I hang up. So I go inside the house. You know, we start walking up the stairs to like her studio. I get the phone call again. And I'm like, this is weird. This is happening twice, no caller ID. So I'm like, hello. And it's like, there's a guy there, he goes, Harley, it's Dean DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots. You just hung up on me. Oh, so I tell the teacher, hold on a second. So I run back downstairs into the bathroom. I close the door. I'm like, Dean, I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Like, I had no idea. I was in the middle of the vocal coach and, you know, whatever. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. He's like, I was just calling to say hi. And he was such a cool dude. And he was like, I just wanted to introduce myself. We're going to be jamming next week. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like beside myself with excitement. You know, I will be there. And he's like, great, looking forward to it. So we hang up. I go upstairs. I explain to her what happened. She starts vocal coaching me. And we see that some of Weiland's stuff that I have to learn, because I was given a list of songs. And the ones that were easier, like Plush or Creep and like all these ones that like I grew up in love. But then there was like that first album had those like metal songs. It was like at the top of my, you know, register, you know. So there were songs like Trippin' in a Hole. There was I Am Smelling Like a Rose, you know, that one. I start rehearsing all the songs and I see some of them at the top of my register. So I really wanted to like get my voice in the best shape possible. I hadn't played live in a while, so I wanted to do this. So I start rehearsing and rehearsing. And it's not like, you know, drums or guitar where it doesn't matter. You're using your vocal cords to rehearse. So you're straining them every day over and over and over. You can't beat up your chords because there's no coming back from that. It takes some rest time, you know, but I didn't want to like not practice. So I think I overdid it a bit. So the day comes and I wake up that morning and I'm like, all right, my voice doesn't feel that great because I know I've been practicing a lot. But I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try the hardest one first, which was Tripping on a Hole. And then we can go to like Creep and Plush and like all this stuff. And, you know, it should be easier, which was wrong. I should have started with the slower ones first because, you know, it's just like show them what you could do. And then if you mess up later, it's okay because they already saw what you could do. I get to the rehearsal studio. I just walk in the room and it's this beautiful studio with a stage and lights and couches. It's all cool. I'm like, and there's Dean. He's just standing there. And it's like this guy I've seen in the videos the whole time. And we start talking. We're like, oh, we're both Italian. We're both from New York. You know, like we both moved out to LA to pursue music. It was going very swimmingly. So we sit down and we start talking and it was like, wow, this is actually, we're really getting along great. So I'm sitting there with the whole band. Eric comes in and, you know, we're like, all right, let's jam, you know? So we get up on the stage and I'm like, sitting there and I got the microphone. I'm like looking to my left and there's Dean and I look to the back and there's Eric and then there's Robert. You know, it's like my God, this looks like a 90s video, but I'm in. So they go, which one do you want to do first? You just pick it. And now there's like 5 songs that are really easy, like Plush, like Interstate Love Song, which is one of my favorites. And then on the top of that, there was like higher ones. I'm like, let me get past the hardest one first. There's the hardest lyric-wise and the hardest, like, you know, to the top of my range is Tripping on a Hole. But I had done that at home so many times, you know, and nailed it and recorded myself doing it and everything. You know, that part that, I said I'm not myself. That part, right? Now I just did it, right? I get there and my voice is so overworked and we're just going and jamming and everybody's like into it. And, you know, I'm like, don't pull out my paper heart, I'm not dying in the wind. And it's all going great. And I'm like, take a look to the velvet skies. And, you know, we're going. And then I get to that part, like, and it just cracks. I just like sit there and I look at them and I could just see the disappointment. And it's like, you know, I would plead with them later that this is not really who I am. I'm just overworked and I'm nervous and my mouth is dry. That doesn't matter because they can pick anybody they want. And they ended up going with the guy from American Idol. And he's got a great voice, but you know, I'm just more of like a working class, like John Lennon kind of voice. Definitely Weiland-esque. I thought it was a perfect fit. So we did go on and jam on a few more songs. We did Plush, we did Interstate Love Song, and those were fine, but I could already tell the wind had gone out of the room just because of that first stupid chorus that was like, that I'd done so many times that now I had overworked my vocal cords and it was like, whatever, I felt like I could never get them back. When it was over, we all sat down and talked, and they're really cool guys, and you know, they had to do what was best for the band. And I told them, when I was leaving, I said, Dean, first of all, I'm sorry for hanging up on you, I said, but you know, second of all, I'm just nervous, my voice is dry, it's overworked. If we had like another rehearsal or two, you would really see who I really am. But they can have anybody they want. There's no, you know, you got to blow them away up top. So future, let go and let God. That's my new philosophy. You got to work hard, but don't overdo it. Don't want it too much, because when you want something too much, you create a resistance towards it. I know that now. It's easier said than done, but something to keep in the back of your mind. Please let me know if you've had this kind of experience, nerve-wracking but awesome, and anything in your life. Please post it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. I'm Harley. Thank you for watching again. And I definitely am going to be talking about more of this stuff. So hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and you'll be notified when I post something. Later.